pretty much everything they've done since August 11th. And that's when, instead of pausing the season like everyone else, saying, okay, we can't start on Labor Day, we'll start on September 20th or the 26th or maybe in October, they decided to go ahead and say, we're done. And they wasted so much time. And when they just finally decided to come back, they had this impossible task of playing 8 or 9 straight weeks without any wiggle room. The SEC, the ACC, the Big 12 all have 2 bye weeks built in, so if a game gets postponed, that they can make it up. Big Ten can't do that, so now Wisconsin is down to its last swing of the bat. If they don't play next week against Michigan, they're not playing in the Big Ten championship game, and that's really too bad. This is a top 10 team that I think would have been opposing Ohio State. Now, some will say Ohio State would probably win anyway, and I agree with that, but it really is a mess, and the Big Ten put themselves in this situation.
Hey, Paul, I want to go to the ACC. We saw last week with Clemson, they were taken to the brink by my alma mater, Boston College, and I know they take a step up in competition with Notre Dame. Know that Trevor Lawrence is not playing. If Clemson loses that game, what does that do for Clemson's chances moving forward?
It's an interesting question, and I think they're still alive. Not to translate this to the big map we're all watching or have been watching all night. Their path to 270, in this case the college football playoff, is still alive. What they have to do is run the table, obviously, and then hope they meet an undefeated, highly regarded number 2 or 3 ranked Notre Dame team in the ACC championship game on December 19th. And if that happens and they win, I think they'll still get in, because the College Football Playoff Committee will look at Trevor Lawrence being out as an injury. It's something that could not be avoided. And I think they'll still make it, not because they're Clemson and one of the biggest names in college football, but because they will have earned their way in. You can criticize, a lot of people will, the ACC, but I happen to think the ACC is pretty good this year. Damian, I'm sure you would agree with me. And it's not impossible. But they have to make the game close. They can't get blown out. But I don't think that's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, and Paul, this really isn't the scenario that Clemson would have pictured when they knew that they were going to be playing number 4 Notre Dame. They are without Trevor Lawrence. So what are the real expectations, in your opinion, for his backup, DJ Uiagalelei?
I'm glad you said it.
I know. I actually had to spell it out phonetically and read it a few times during the break.
I have it on my wall about 10 different places spelled out phonetically, and I still can't say it. But he's a great player. And we saw that against BC the other day. He came in, he got a slow start, and then exploded. And this is someone we expected to be very good. He was a 5-star, one of the top players in the country coming out of high school. And I think he's going to be fine. I think the challenge for Clemson is going to be their defense, which has looked so good under Dabo Swinney and especially Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator. But last week they took the afternoon off except until the late in the third quarter and the fourth quarter against BC, and they can't do that at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a tough, physical team. They have a serviceable quarterback in Ian Book and a very good coach in Brian Kelly.
Now, I want to go to the SEC, to your neck of the woods now, and we know that Georgia, Florida has a huge matchup, and the Bulldogs defense has a lot of injuries. How much pressure is on Kirby Smart to really get those guys playing well against a Florida offense that's really lighting it up?
Yeah, they're without their best player on defense, LeCount, and he was hurt in a motorcycle accident, and that's a big blow, Damian. This is a precarious game for Georgia. They've only lost to Alabama. They led at halftime, got blown out in the second half. They had an uninspiring game last week against Kentucky, only scoring 14 points. And if they lose this game, there are going to be a lot of people who go back into the history books of 2 years ago and start asking the question to Kirby Smart, how did you let Justin Fields get away? Everyone's talking all day long here on the network that Justin Fields maybe could challenge Trevor Lawrence next year as the top pick in the draft. I mean, he's that good. He has played 2 flawless games, and I understand. I mean, I watched this in real time, and Kirby Smart made the decision to stay with Jake Fromm, who looked like the better quarterback at the time. He ended up coming out this year, which turned out to be a mistake. And for those of you who aren't following the University of Georgia, they are down to their fourth-string quarterback. Their presumptive starter, Jamie Newman, opted out. He was a grad transfer from Wake Forest. Their 2 and 3 guys have not played very well. One played very poorly, and the other one, J.T. Daniels from Southern Cal, has not been able to overcome injuries. So they're severely challenged. And as I say that, Florida has one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Kyle Trask, and Pitts, his receiver, it's just one of the great tandems we have seen in a long time in college football. So this is a very dangerous game for Kirby Smart.
All right, well, a lot of great games on the docket for this weekend, Paul. We look forward to watching them all, and we really appreciate you being here with us to help break it all down. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, time to move on right here on First Take. We have more NFL.